Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Trust everybody's doing well. Once again, welcome to our product deep dive session. This happens every third Saturday of each month. Here we bring our practitioner. They come in, they share their experience with us, and as well as give us a walkthrough on a particular product area, especially fun stuff that they're doing currently or they just finished to have, and then they give us a demo. The demo is the key. That way they give us a walkthrough, we ask questions, and we provide guidance. Yes, right now there is the build challenge, which is for ServiceNow. So if you actually go in there to the ServiceNow portal now, we do have a build agent challenge, right? This challenge is actually really easy for you to do. All you just need is to be in a Zurich or Yokohama release, and then depending on any app idea. So, for example, right, this is going to be running for the next 2 weeks. It started on the 12th, and then it's going to be running through to 24th. All it is ServiceNow with the Zurich release. They have the AI agents. So build agent is one of those AI agents to help with pretty much platform, or we'll say the creator experience. So all you just need to do is, there is participation guidelines. So you get a PDI, and then you share about the, the prompting you have for your agent, as well as you go ahead and contribute to this. It's going to end on the 24th. So it started on the 12th. It's going to run through to 24th. You get swag, you get your badge on your profile, and then if your app is selected, you get the app idea you do to be put in the ServiceNow gallery. It's easy. Why do I say it's easy? I say it's easy because all you're needing to do is go take a look. There are several ways you can do it with ServiceNow's IDE. All you need to do would be to, okay, just give me a minute. I think I should have it here, I believe. Just 1 second here. Okay, so he said email, so just to get to the email. So all you need to do is really easy. What are the components of an app? There are quite a number of them that you can do. You can make it easy, you can make it complex. With the build agent, each one is entitled to about 10, because it's a trial version, because it just came out launched in your PDI. So you could use these that are there. So for example, you can create an asset tracking app. You can build an app that tracks inventory. You can create an app to manage feedback. These are suggestions. But if you remember, what are the components of an app? You can always go to, this is taking a little minute to wake up. You need to know what your app name is, what is the description, what your app is supposed to do. Then, by default, we have about 2 roles, so a user role and an admin role. You can always get an approval role put in there. And then an app is really about tables. So looking at the table and then the table schema or table structure. So for example, what fields are going to be on your app? So depending on the type of app it is or the app description, you're able to tell the AI, right, the prompt. You're able to actually just give it a couple of instructions, which are those natural language constraints that you're putting, or natural language text that you're putting in. You're asking the app that based on this information, I want you to go in there to ServiceNow IDE or integrated development environment or design environment, go and build an application, and then it's going to go through and then build your app and ask you a couple of questions. Based on your feedback, you would agree that if you wanted to proceed or not, or make modifications. But you need to be specific. So it's an iterative process. So sometimes you might go in with a simple one and then continue to improve on it. But you're entitled to 25 if you go do if you have it in a company or in a paid version. So maybe if it's your company app, you're able to get 25. That's you have to install the application on there. But if you're using the trial version, that's 10 application in the PDI. So you get 10 prompts, sorry. So instead of 25 prompts, you can go through the prompt. The prompt resets every month. But if you don't want to, if you do not want to wait for the month, you can release your instance and then request a new one. And that would be like you're resetting it. So it means that it's starting a brand new instance, which just means you come to manage, and then here you're able to, under the instance instructions, and then these actions, you can go ahead and reset, wipe it. So right, starting afresh. So if you want to do that, then yeah, that's something you can do. So, but ideally, other than that, you can go ahead and then, use those three as a guidance. Building application is really easy. And then, your app can be even just a table with a few, your app can be a table with a few, yeah, just give me 1 second. Your app can be a table with a few fields. Your app can be a table with, several fields down, and then your app could have, maybe complexity. Maybe like in my own case, I built workspace, I built a form, I built list, and then I went to make sure the rows had a particular styling. For example, the row should have, the user should be able to only read and write, or create and read. The other ones should be able to update, so create, read, and update or write. Then the third one should be able to delete, which is the admin, to be able to do. So you can make it as granular as you can. All of that are the instructions that you're giving or the prompting you're giving the system for you to actually make those modifications accordingly for you. And that's all there is to it. And there's not so much. The major thing is the learning, the fact that you're experimenting, you're engaging with the tool. ServiceNow has a lot within that ServiceNow University to help you. So the more hands-on you have there, the better. So that way you're getting as much as, because that's what the future, which is now, looks like for builders or for engineers, because that's really what you're going to be doing going forward. Like you need to be able to know how to use it, how the tool will work for you, and then it will make you much more efficient. It will really, really make you much more efficient. So the more you'll be able to do it. So all the builder experiences are here. So if you're using ServiceNow IDEs, that if you're using the Creator Studio one, is that one all the way here. You can open that. Like I said, all the ServiceNow build experiences, they're all here. They're all listed, right? App Engine Studio is there. They're all even there. So here, when it loads up, you just need to create a workspace, which you would do. You just create a workspace maybe for your app, and then you go ahead. And then the build agent will be, it's still loading. The build agent will be there on the right, so you can start to chat with it. If you already had some already there, it will let you know. But bear in mind, you have to have a Zurich Yokohama release for you to be able to do that. So that way you know. So the build agent will tell you, welcome to build agent. So it's just, you can build your app. I built a shopping list app. I built training management app. So you can try a couple of things. You just give it a prompt, and then the app is kind of like not going to be, I could talk about, it won't be ready, to get go. You will need to, you will need to be able to, do a thing or two there. These are the information you need: the app name, the app description. You need to add a table, right? You need to add an experience, several experiences. Then automation. So if you want to add business rules or workflows, you can put that there. It's all up to you, the way you do it. You can just write it out as simple text. There's some guidance there. Elle has a video about it. I think there should be some links there that should point to that. But if not, for the most part, if not, if it's simple, yeah, that's a walkthrough. Elle has a video there, so go take a look. Even the one about prompt chaining or best practice, it's all there. He has something good there that will help you, so that way you can look at it for the build agent with sample, complex as well as easy. If you wanted to look at, you can come download the thing and use it. But having your app idea and then doing what you need to would really help you. So that way it works. All right. Yeah, for the most part. But hey, go ahead and then go explore, go engage with the tool. So now we'll go ahead and have Toddy give us a run through. So we'll get to meet her, and then she would tell us a thing or two about change automation, and then give us a demo. So the ball is in your court, Toddy. So you can go ahead and take us away. Thank you.
Thank you, Nemeka. Hi, everyone. My name is Etodi, but they always call me ET. ServiceNow CMDB Data Manager. I work with NTTA in Dallas. And today I'm going to talk about change because we recently in my organization upgraded our change management process. So I have a little bit of background, which many of us might know. So forgive me if this beginning part sounds a little bit boring, but let me just share my screen to give a little bit of PowerPoint presentation on change. So we could talk about, today I'll be talking about change management. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the change module and talk about the CAB Workbench, which my organization moved on to. And then we'll start with what is change management.
Okay.
Yeah. So change management, it's more or less a process.
Just a minute, ET. Can you put it in a presentation mode all the way to the bottom? You can see the presentation mode. So, you know,
Where now?
if you go back to your PowerPoint,
Okay.
if you just put it in presentation when you're on it.
Did I just
Before we get to the demo, the
Oh, yeah, I
PowerPoint.
think I actually closed it.
Oh, you did? Oh, no problem.
Yeah, but let me open it back.
Oh, sure thing.
Are you asking me for signing again? Okay, yep. Most of the features, I think, well, I don't know because it's not active.
Oh, no. If you go all the way to the bottom, right? All the way to the bottom to the right there, you should see the presentation mode to the right, very close to your, yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, and then you start to reshare again because we lost you there.
Yes. I think I've really not done this presentation mode. I can't seem to find it, but oh well.
Yeah, no.
The wrong screen. Okay. Well, I could just, it was supposed to be like a guide for me. So
Okay,
more or less, if I'm not seeing it, I'll just talk about it. So let's just move on in case I'm not so sure with PowerPoint. So we'll say change management is a structured process now to control modifications to the IT system. So way back in my organization, just to give like a background, before I joined in, we deal with tolling, right? So once upon a time, someone did a change that was unauthorized because then they didn't have a process at all in place. And someone went to go and modify something that caused all the tolling cameras to stop reading. So imagine the whole of maybe, because my organization, we are both in Dallas, our headquarters is in Dallas, but we are all over Texas. We move on to other close by cities and all. So imagine people having like up to like 6 hours of going through tolling and nobody was being billed. So the company lost a lot of money that day because they didn't have a change management process in place. They lost so much money, over some millions, and at first they didn't even know what caused it because the change was not actually recorded. It was not there was no record of anything. They had to start tracking down and before they discovered who did what and what happened. So that brought them about into trying to have a process in mind so that every change before you actually put in a change, you must actually have it recorded, and there has to be like a deliberation before anything goes on. And also, if it's even an emergency change, you also have to have a record of it that has to go through some level of approval, so to prevent such loss coming up again. So change management now, it ensures that changes are successful, it's safe, it meets all the compliance that is stated by the organization, and that it is traceable. So you know who has the change, who it's assigned to, who is working on it, and the plan for rollback. Those are different standards and different checklists in place for change. Then we have different types of change. Out of the box in service now, they talk about standard change, normal change, and emergency change. Standard change are all pre-approved, like maybe every other day we know that we have updates maybe in our network systems, maybe Microsoft needs to have an update. So those kind of changes to system and stuff could be placed as standard change because it's a regular thing, maybe it comes up every month, maybe they update on their network. So they are listed as standard change. And we talk about normal change, of which it's a change that requires like pre-planning. It requires you to take risk assessments. It requires you to know what it is and have rollback plans in place and have a schedule. So those mostly go to the CAB, for which is Change Advisory Board, before it gets approved and then goes on to be implemented. Then emergency changes are when something is urgent, maybe there's a break or fix, something has broken now and we need to talk about it and we need to fix it immediately. In that situation, you might not wait for the board to probably meet, like an organization we meet every week. You might not be able to wait for the next meeting of the board to approve the change. So you fix it quickly and then you create a record and it gets discussed and maybe gets told to the board in the next meeting. Also, in my organization, which we go a little bit out of box, some people might have something they need to be fixed, but they don't get to create their change record on time. Maybe they're waiting for something, or maybe something is already approved in a change, but you discover during the process of trying to implement it that something else needed to be done, or something else is, and then we can't wait for the next CAB. So we actually call it urgent change in my organization. That goes through a less stringent approval process than the normal change. So we have 4 different types of change where I'm coming from. So we have standard, we have normal, we have urgent, and we have emergency change, all with different levels of approval. Then I could go on ahead to talk about the change life cycle. We have the change starts with creation. A change requester sees something is broken or something needs to be fixed, and they create a change record requesting the change. Once they create the record, they also talk about the risk and impact assessments. These are all on the change requester. And once they finish putting up the form, create the change, put up the risk and impact assessment, talk about their rollback plan and all, it now goes on to approval. Different organizations have different levels of approval, have different bodies to approve. Where I'm coming from, once you create the change, your own manager, if you're not a manager, your own manager has to approve it first and foremost. So your manager has to look at the change, know what you are doing, and approve it before it goes on to the rest of the CAB board to also look at it and approve it. And then you go on to implement it. Yeah,
Okay.
Aline, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. The slides are not moving. Have you changed slides, or is it just my system?
Yeah, the site it's not moving actually.
Okay.
Let's do this. I told you. Let's close the activate one. If you can close that, and then click on the side, it should be able to move. Let's see. Click on it.
Yeah, it is
actually.
actually.
It should move. Okay, so that way you can use that.
Okay.
Instead of that. So if you can use that, that will work. Because what I was saying, if you go to the right at the bottom, if you can't see it on the top, you can go to where we have the is it the file one? You should be able to, if you go to file, you should see or if you go to where it says transitions also, you should be able to get, the presentation, or is it, no, slideshow, sorry. Slideshow, can you see the slideshow?
Yeah.
So it should be able to, begin from here or begin from the top. If it doesn't go through, then all the way to the bottom, it should say it. Yeah. The second one
Okay.
says,
Let me
so
just
that you
start
can choose where you want to begin from, whichever
Yeah.
way.
from current slide. Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah, better. Thank you.
No problem.
Someone told me to talk about, I don't know who said that, I just saw it flash across my screen about the urgent change and the emergency change. So let me just give a little bit of talk
Right,
about
the difference. Yeah, those
Yes.
are one of the questions.
So
Great question.
this,
Can I beg crave your indulgence, please? Can you start again from the first slide? Let's.
Oh, not a problem. Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Ethel, you can go to the beginning and then start. Let us go.
okay.
So that we can. Well, great question. Okay, great question.
Yeah, okay. So let's start. Okay, I talk about what is change management, and I talk about how it's a structured process to control modifications, mostly on the IT systems. It ensures that changes are successful, safe, compliant, and traceable. And then it also serves to provide visibility and accountability, which is very important. After I talk about the story about having an unauthorized change in my organization and the impact and how there was no visibility on the change. Then we moved on to the types of change. So let's say I talked about standard change, that they are pre-approved, low risk, and they are repeatable changes. Think about network updates, think about maybe firewall. Normally, on your computer, I can say, oh, the firewall needs to be updated. All those are seen as pre-approved. So it doesn't really need every day that they deliberate on it. Maybe the CAB members or deliberate on that kind of change. Then the normal change, which is mostly the normal, what every organization has, that happens all the time. These are changes that require pre-planning. They require risk and impact analysis. They require testing, and then they require approvals for you to carry it on. And then there's emergency changes that need to be acted upon immediately to restore services. That's, think about when a system is down. Maybe imagine if we have a payments plan, like, okay, yeah, in my organization, we deal with payment card industry, PCIs. And then maybe something happens and we can't accept payments. That's something needs to be worked on immediately. We don't need to talk about waiting for change body for 2 days or 3 days for the next change meeting to discuss that. Then I now mentioned that in my organization now, peculiarly to my own company, we have urgent change. Now you could have a normal change that has been approved. You are now in the implementation stage. And you notice that this change has maybe a CI is being affected that you didn't take note of, or that it wasn't captured initially, that also needs to be, maybe it needs an update. So say you are, okay, now service now is mostly in Zurich. So imagine a situation whereby we are in Yokohama organization, and then we are trying to bring in some new app or do some modifications. We've gone through it and it's been approved. Our dev instance right now is in Zurich, but our main production is still on Yokohama. And then imagine a situation whereby these are two different releases now, and you've already gotten a change approved to implement in production, but you notice that the change is not compatible with the Yokohama release, so you have to upgrade to Zurich, right? That way you could go on ahead and put an urgent change, because already the main thing you're updating has already been approved, but this needs to be done before that. So we've had such experiences in my organization particularly. So we now had a situation whereby we have an urgent change that needs less approval and meets more frequently for such cases. So that way it doesn't need the whole CAB body to sit on it, but it needs the manager and some few other people oversight to look at it and approve it, because we know that we cannot wait for the next week, because we already have some things working that needs that to be fixed for the whole process to go on. So it's actually particular to my organization. It's not out of box from ServiceNow. This is something my organization did because we noticed that we had a need for that. So that's how our urgent change and our normal change differs in my place. So yeah, Nemeka has put something on screen, and that explains it easier. Thank you, Nemeka. So we now talk about the change life cycle. And I mentioned, okay, we have the creation, which these are dependent on the change requester, the creation of the change, the risks and impact assessment, he or she or they have to have looked at it, looked at the risk, if it's low risk, if it's high risk, they have to look at the impact too. All those are already going to be inputted into the change form, and the change is created. Then we now go through the approval process, through the approval workflow. So where I'm coming from, we have 2 stages of approval. The first approval is from the manager of the change requester. So the manager would have looked at the change and then approved it. And once he gets it approved, it moves to authorized stage and comes to the CAB for second approval. And after that is done, the stage moves on to the state of the change, now moves on to implementation. And once done, they review and close the change. So this is a summary of the change life cycle. Then I'll talk about the CAB group. So this is a group of people in my organization, is mostly different managers and the IT department, that they are responsible to review changes that are brought up to the table, ensure down that it meets our business needs, it's operational, ensure that there's a good rollback in place, to basically review all the change and ensure that everything, the impact is low, or if it's a high impact change, what is the plan for rollback? What do you do when? Ask questions basically, and be sure that the change meets our needs and the change is not going to affect business operations. And then they approve or reject the change, or they could also say, okay, we need more information on this, so place the change on hold actually, and say, okay, we need more information, so we're not going to approve, but we won't reject the change because we could see why it's needed, but we need more information on this, clarify this part and bring it back. So they could either approve, reject the change, or place it on hold until the next meeting to get more information. So that's the CAB body. And we also have on the CAB, we have CAB manager, we have some delegates. The CAB manager, that's now going into the workbench. This is a particularly to the using CAB workbench in ServiceNow. I'll show you that after talking about it. So the CAB manager oversees the meetings and operations. They make sure they schedule and review the changes that are to be deliberated upon. And then they also could approve or reject the changes based on feedback from other CAB members. And then they're also responsible for recording the outcome of the meeting, so that everybody can also go on ahead and look at it, and also sending those outcomes to a redefined distribution list, so that everybody can know, okay, this is what's happening and this is what we agreed on. Then the delegate also has the same role as the CAB manager, but they mostly act when the manager is not available, because we all know life happens. It's not every day that, or every change time that the CAB manager might be available to host the change. So delegates are like backup plans to the manager, and they can act on that. So with that being said, I'll close this and go into my PDI to show you change. So this is, I have the change open. I've talked about the change models, and that's talk about, and then different. Also, maybe let me bring up about this before I go on to show you. Let's talk about blackout schedules and all. So there is also, this could also a list of time that's maybe in my organization now. We have Thanksgiving is coming up upper week. Most people are going to be on holiday. So we have like a blackout schedule for that week of Thanksgiving, the whole week. So no change is going to be done on that week. So this is configured right here in my organization. So we put it and inform everybody that for that week, there's going to be like a change freeze. So it's not going to allow anyone to create a change on the time that is listed here, so that nobody can create a change, because most people will be off and cannot be deliberated or no, apart from emergency changes, which is a different thing entirely. Then we also have maintenance schedules in some situation whereby maybe something needs to be maintained. Maybe we are upgrading a system, or maybe they're having an upgrade. So they can put this schedule in place and record it also that there is maintenance. So if you try to schedule a change on that particular time, because now this could be coming from a different place entirely. Maybe it comes from leadership, like this is going to be happening, there's going to be this maintenance done with, and then other members of the team on the IT might not know that there's a maintenance coming up that time, and they'll try to schedule a change for that day. So configuring this here could also prevent change from being scheduled that time. So basically it prevents conflicts from happening. So I just want to point these two out to you in schedules. Then we could go on ahead and talk about the CAB Workbench. So this I didn't want to create, I wanted to create it with you. So say we have a CAB meeting every Tuesday by 3 p.m. and we already have our CAB approval board listed, already members in the group, and we want changes to be done and we want to capture that time. So this is going to be defined on this CAB definitions. So I could go on ahead and create a new one. So you go here and click on new. So let's say Tuesday CAB. It's slow system.
So you can see its descriptive name of what it should be, Tuesday
Yes.
CAB.
Yeah,
So
because
basically they're trying to let them know, even if you don't open it, you have an idea.
yes, that is on Tuesday. Then the CAB manager already, this is, I think, pre-selected by the teams. I don't want to go and make more update, but of course, in your organization, you know who your CAB manager is, you know who your delegate is. So I could say admin, system administrator as a delegate. Then the board members, I could either, if they are in a group, I could look at unlock the board group. And let's see, is there anything like CAB approval? Okay, CAB approval, yes. So I've put this as the board group. Now, in some cases, you might not have these CAB managers or members of the board put in a group, which means you have to go on to the board members and individually add them to this list. But in this station, there already an approval group in place, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, the CAB type, we're talking about normal. The time zone, well, I'm in CST, so let's put a CST. Then location. So say we meet up in maybe conference room 10 or something. I could go on ahead here and put it as conference room 10. So this tells everyone this is the location for the meeting. Oh, okay, so sorry, this is not configured here, so I can't pick that because it's not configured to the system.
Yeah,
But
take a look and pick any location there.
yes, let's look.
Yeah, just take away the conference room and then shoot this. Yeah, click on all, then get any conference.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's
pick
say
any address. Yeah,
plain
pick any.
one.
Can
Okay,
pick a
so
plain address.
yeah, so I've picked it. So is this the location for the meeting? Then conference details for us now. Our own CAB meeting is done on Teams. So I could go on ahead and maybe, let's say, I'll copy our meeting invite. Then can I pick it out? Oopsie, sorry. I'm trying to, can you anybody drop any link on chat? I wanted to just copy and paste. I'm not able to find where I joined the meeting from now without closing this page. Yes, okay, I've seen my mail. So, but in this station, if it's WebEx, if it is Zoom, if it is any of those links, that is actually what is asking for there. So just going ahead, I'm trying to look at the meeting invite link.
All right, I put it in the chat. You can get that there if
Okay, better.
yeah, just copy that and put that there.
It's my Zoom. Okay. Trying to copy it, but for some reasons. Anyway, well, let me just, I don't know if I've copied it or not, but this is not for me as easy as my Teams. I'm now more used to Teams right now.
That's it.
Yeah, because that's what we use more of to. So I'll see it and then it will disappear again. Anyway, so but this just basically needs a meeting link. And so in case if you have your meeting on a chat box, if you have it on Zoom, if you have it on Teams or on WebEx, I don't know how to copy right now. You paste the link here so that once the invite
You can
comes,
just type the WebEx there. You can just type anything.
Yeah.
It's not it's just for demo. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
Put WebEx, Teams, Zoom, whatever. WebEx, Teams, Zoom, whichever one
Yeah.
they subscribe to. That's all they do.
yes. Okay,
Yeah,
so I think
yeah.
this has linked it. So this now, we now talk about the notification lead time. So what this is referring to is how many minutes do you need to notify the presenter before you need them to come. So say we have 10 changes to be discussed. Now, it might not be wise to tell all the presenters now, maybe because everybody has what they are doing with their time. So you have to be respectful of the time. So you might have to just inform them just before their change is to be discussed. So maybe this is asking how many minutes before their own change do you need to inform them. So here it's left at 5 minutes. So I could leave it at that 5. I don't need to modify it. Then timeline for per agenda item talks about how many minutes do you need to discuss each agenda. So I could leave it at 5 also. So each agenda item, that's each change has to be discussed within 5 minutes. Then we now talk about change request addition conditions. So this is where you determine what process or what makes you to be added to this group. So in my organization, we have a cutoff time for each change you want to present for it to be deliberated upon. So let's say the change is starting by 2 o'clock, and we want it that everything that is till noon, you can bring your change up until noon. So I could come here and add filter. So I could say the change should be created on today. No, I don't think today it's the right one. So I could say created trend on Monday. So let's say I want changes to be last on Monday. I could say this, but you play around with the filter to just know which one is best for you. So let's say relative, and I'll say before. So I think this is better from what I said 2 hours ago. So that way, once you run it, everything that was created maybe before the 2 hours is going to be, the changes is going to peak. And then the change, I could come here and say, okay, state, which is very important because in my organization, once the state is unauthorized, it comes up to the board. So I could come here and say, okay, the state should be in authorized states because that is when it comes up to our board for discussion. And then I can say active is true. That means the change has to be active. And I submit it. So I've picked up an agenda. So this is the conditions that the change could be picked. So now I've done that, but that's not the end of it. I still have to configure put on the dates for the CAB meeting. And okay, now you can see it's giving me this, that there is no scheduled entry in this schedule. So that's next thing I have to do. I'll come to scheduled entry here. And click on new. And we said it's meeting. The name is Tuesday CAB. And the type is, it's a meeting. So I'll keep it as meeting, show as busy, yes. So when does it start? Today is 15th. I could leave it for 15 and 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Okay, so the timing is correct. The time zone is US Central. So then I ask you, does it repeat? I'll say it repeats every weekday. And this is showing weekly on weekends because of the time I picked here, which is a weekend. So rather than that, I should pick on Tuesday, which should be on the 18th. And end date should be that. So yes, so this should every weekend, Monday to Friday, weekly. And then it asks put on Monday, but I want it on Tuesday every week. So then it asks you to repeat until, I could say repeat until December, or as long as, most times the recommended thing from the CAB, from ServiceNow, is make it as short as possible, because you might need to make some modifications, of which I had that experience. Now I put mine till 2027, but I noticed that once we needed to make some changes, we had to come and build the whole agenda item again, because it was not, because we needed some modifications on the changes that had already been picked up. Because now once you pick the schedule, it runs. So let's say I pick it until January, it creates some meetings. Let's show you that. So now I've picked the schedule Tuesday, and I now refresh the CAB meetings. It will create a couple of meetings for me. So if you go to CAB meetings, refresh this. Okay, now you could see he has created 11 meetings, which meet up with the time I asked it to. So now these meetings have already been configured. So if you make any changes again after this, these meetings will still be bearing this particular conditions that I've added in the filter. So you need to manually edit them out or modify them. If not, it will still be running on this based on that. So I mistakenly did my own meeting till 2027. And then when it had about 60, 70 meetings, I think, and then we noticed that some of we needed to make an update on our filters. So we had the update, but the meeting had already been created. It was not impacting. We had to go on and clear it and refresh the meetings again and start to manually work on it. So it's always advised from out of box to keep the meeting as short as possible, and then you keep on creating new meetings with time. Better than, because that way, if you make modification, it's just going to impact few meetings. So now that has been done, I could go on to say, okay, let's try one meeting just to show you how the CAB runs. Though this is, okay, let's take the closest, this is on the 18th. Click on this, it opens it. So now you could see that it's asking for, in my agenda management, is asking for change request starting after the 18th, which is not possible. So I could clean up this because I don't need it before I refresh it. So I could just pick up changes that are going on upcoming. And then I click on refresh the agenda item. So it's supposed to populate a couple of meetings for me. He asked me if they want to send an invite to the people, or the change requesters or the attendees, and I said yes. So okay, so you can see the warnings is given me. Assignment group is mandatory for in progress change request. That might be what they configured out of box from their own, but in my own, I didn't make it mandatory, but they are still telling me that it is mandatory here, so that's okay. Then the announcement based on the current agenda item of 5 minutes, that I don't have enough time to discuss it, so should I reduce it or extend the meeting time? And then they're telling me that they've sent notification also, so I could say okay, I agree. So now I could see it brought up 55 meetings that meet up with this agenda item, which I just kept it as short as possible. I didn't put more filter criteria, so that's why we have a lot of these meetings, but they all, I'm sure, are in the state of authorize, which is weird. So now that this has been done, we're now going ahead to go to the meeting in the workbench. So now there are two methods of doing this. Either go and click on this, go to this meeting in the CAB workbench, or I could also click on the CAB Workbench here. It opens a new tab. Come on. Okay, so it opens a new tab and we are looking at the 18th. Okay, so that's this. I think my Tuesday CAB is this, so we could open it. Now I want to point something out to you that will happen. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I did. Okay, so now you could see the CAB manager is Christine Mitchell. But because I just remembered I did it now, I added myself as a delegate. If you notice on the CAB definition, you could see that delegate is system administrator. That is why I could see this host meeting. I thought I didn't remember I did that. I was looking to show you that I won't be able to host the meeting because I was not recorded, but I realized, okay, I already added as a delegate. So I could actually start the meeting. I'll click on hosts and then start meeting. So that way I've already given the controls over to myself and then start meeting. Now, if you notice on this particular, this gave me a little bit of headache. On this particular change now, it's running, but I'm not seeing the chance to approve or reject the change, of which the delegate should have that opportunity. So what happened here, it took me a while because when we started our own, we had to look at it, we realized that when you go to the change, this is change 07. So let me just pause it. On the change itself, that's this. If you open it and look at the approvers, why is it not bringing this out here? So, but anyway,
it's missing the assignment group. That's part of why some of them were missing that. Like the
Okay.
assignment group is missing. So if you put change management, you should be able to see that. But you must be a member of an approver group.
Approver, yeah, that's what
Change
I was
management or
pointing out.
change approver the CAB. If not, you
Yes.
cannot.
You cannot see that button to approve, yes. So because there's no approvers listed here, I think I said the assignment group, which we didn't have in my own organization, we didn't configure that part, but because they are not listed as approver, that is why on the meeting, you cannot approve the change. So that we can go to the next and see. I think they're all, but another thing I could do, because I know that the CAB manager herself is actually listed as an approver, I could go on ahead and impersonate her first of all,
Yeah, you do that.
so that I
sounds
could
good.
just show you what the button looks like. So let's impersonate the CAB manager.
Yeah, impersonation is helpful, especially when you want to test.
Yes.
Different from elevation. When you do impersonate, you're actually going to look at things from someone's point of view, especially if you are requested to make changes accordingly for that particular, or you're trying to actually test a particular request just to validate. That's really what it is. It allows you to do that. Okay, so you see the
can you
approval
notice now that once I went under Christine, I could see the chance to approve or reject the change because she is listed as an approver on the changes that are being discussed. But I, as a system admin, wasn't listed as one, so I couldn't have that. And now it's also asking her to host because I was hosting the meeting on the other hand. So I could just go on and click host. So she takes the control now and she's now the one hosting, and I could approve the change. So I approve it. It asks for comments. I could say approved based on whatever. Just write a comment. Or let's say unanimously. And then approve. So that goes, and then I could go to the next agenda item. Okay, this, we are not seeing that. So I think she's already approved it before. Okay, this is a new change, was taking a bit of lag. So the same process, you could either approve it or I could decide to reject it. When you click on reject, it also asks you for the rejection reason. I can say no clear rollback, because it's always good to tell people why you're rejecting the change also. No clear rollback plan, and then I'll reject the change. And that's done. So just wanted to show you two things. Now also on the workbench, I could also show you like, okay, on the form now, we have the change form itself come up here. So you could review it as you are discussing it. The presenter could come, talk about the change requested by network, state, all that, very high impact and all. And then there was actually no clear rollback. Really. Then there's also the planning, of which you could write on justification, talk about the implementation plan, talk about risk and impact analysis, backout plan. These are all things you need to review. All these are in the form you're supposed to fill. I talked about them on the slides. And then the test plan. There is no test plan here. There is no risk and impact analysis, and there is no justification for the change. So this change really needed to be rejected based on all this. Then there's also the schedule. Now, sometimes we could actually talk about a change. You planned it for a time, but maybe the change we discussed earlier, maybe another election has been approved with going on at the same time. And you could see like they are basically conflicting. Maybe they're going to have some CIs that might be affected or something. During the meeting, if this is discovered, which is one of the reasons why all these are there, the CAB manager could go on and click on this calendar icon here and modify the time. Okay, now you could see the blackout schedule here. So if I try to push this change to that day, try to take it.
You highlight it and then change it, address the date on the thing.
Yeah,
So
no, they'll
people
just drag it. Yeah.
no, it would go.
So it won't go if you try to take it to the blackout schedule time, it will not go on. So now I've modified, I've added extra time, but I could also go on to, I wanted to drag it. Why am I not being able to drag it over? But okay, I'm dragging. Okay, yeah, better. So now you could see it's not agreeing because there is a maintenance window here, although nothing is scheduled then. But here it could allow me for this time. So I've changed the date based on maybe the conflict I discovered and pushed it to this time. Though this is still within work time, so maybe I can move it earlier, further down to like 20, which is 8 p.m. But I could save it, and the change is now scheduled for that time. But if I try to move it to the blackout schedule time, which is already configured, or if it's in maintenance window, it won't allow me to drag a change to that particular day because it has its effects. So those are small things the manager could also work around and schedule it and then put it to a better time, probably with based on consent, based also with the change request time, because you tell them, okay, no, this time is not working. What other time can you do it? And then move it around and then approve the change. So I've already approved it and just modify this date. So this will now carry on a new time of that. And I can go to next. New change opens and this change is slated for this time. So we could also now talk about the change, maybe go back to the form and look at their plan for risks and impacts and their backout plan and all, backout or rollback plan. So look at all that. So this is a little bit of a demo on how the CAB Workbench works. Other things I want to point out to everyone, some of the pain points I discovered. And impersonations, I can go back to system admin, is that each organization, we have a workflow that is in place for driving this process. So let me show you. Bring up that. Okay, so right now I've moved some changes around, so maybe they will take a little bit of time. So we could talk about the workflow. Now, when I did the workbench, the manager approves the change, like we saw on the demo. But I noticed that, oh, I didn't point that out, that, sorry, I think, let me just go back quickly and show you this before I come here. I missed the point. If we go to our Tuesday CAB now, and go to the meeting we held. Our meeting was on the 18th. If we go to the meeting on the 18th, if you look at the changes, you could see these states. The state is complete and the decision was rejected. That was the one I rejected. If you open it up, it will tell you the reason for the rejection. I think then you could see this is complete, and this is approved and approved, but this is still in progress. I think I didn't end it all. That's why it still shows in progress. So this was one I made a note on. If you open up the change and go to the notes, you could see rejected by Christine on the approvers. This was what I was trying to talk about, approvals then. So the manager, probably this person approved it, and then the rest of them were not required again. Then it came to CAB and it got rejected by the CAB approval. So if you open the rejection notice, you should be able to see the comments that was written, no clear rollback plan. So that was why. So this way, the change requester could also know why they rejected the change. So it's always good to add a comment. Then I talk about the states being changed while the approval was done. And that would move for the changes that have been approved now, like the ones that have is already complete. So to now move them over to implement, and they can start working on their change. So now in my organization, while we did this thing, the manager approves the change during the CAB meeting. But we realized that while we come here, this decision still showed no decision, like it's here. And then the state shows no decision, and the decision table or field was empty. And this was preventing our change from carrying on to move the states to implement. So I had to go on to do further research, which brought us to the workflow. So let me just show you quickly that so that you understand. That was something I had to figure out with service, and I actually had to call them. It took us a couple of meetings before we realized that our workflow was the problem. Now, on every change as an admin, on every change, there is this related links. So there is show workflow and workflow context. So if you click on the show workflow now, it takes us to a new page. So it shows us, okay, so change moves, this is where we are on the condition right now for this category, because the one on green is what is running currently. So this process actually talks about every step on the change. So any modification, this drives the whole CAB Workbench and all the change process. This drives it. So right now, we are in this, we are waiting, change moves to implement. I'm sure probably if you refresh it after a while, it will change to implement because already it's been approved by CAB. So all these ones on blue, it's been finished. So this change began here, wait for condition, and then it moves to assess, approval, that one is finished. Then it goes to an approval group, that's on this, their own workflow. Then it keeps going, and if you check it on before it goes to CAB approval. So mine used to get stuck on the CAB approval because when we now looked at it well enough, they now told me as in go to the workflow. I talked about this with you at some point, like something was wrong, but we didn't really have enough to sit on it and show you the screen. But when we looked at it with them, they now showed me this was the issue. That's the approval group. When you click on it, like I'll just show you this now. Open, because it's finished, it's not trying to run. Okay, yeah. So we noticed that when you look at this, there is some condition based on that. So right now, out of the box, it waits for an approval from each group. And then when anyone rejects it, it rejects the change completely. So an approval from each group here means once they get one approval from the group, like on the CAB approval, so once one person on the CAB approves it, then that was it. It goes to the next state. But ours, on the other hand, now this is just view, not on the modifier. I could also show you where to modify it also. But ours, on the other hand, had it that it had to wait for an approval from everyone, and of which, based on how my organization is and how people are also, some people might not even be present for the CAB meeting. Some people, life can happen, some changes might happen and made them not to approve the change. So it was waiting for everybody on the group to approve it before it completes that state. So ours always got stuck on this particular part. But when I figured it out that was the problem, I had to go on ahead to modify it. So I could now show you also how to modify. So this now has been approved, so it moves on, and then it's now on the implement condition. And once the person that requested implements the change, it goes on until they set it to review, and then they end the change, and then it's complete. The workflow is done. So, but ours stopped here. Then back to service now. So there is this, I don't know who knows, I'm not so good on this part, but I could modify a change. So there is what they call workflow editor. So, oh, sorry, something wrong one. What's this? So if you go to workflow editor now, I had to, what I did to prevent that, because there already was some modification, I went to workflow editor and change requests, normal change tags. No, I needed not the tags, the workflow. So I could go to normal and click on this one. This was the one I needed to. So this shows the whole process that is running for this, the whole change process that is being run by the change request. So I could now go and look for, they have different approval policies here. Yeah, Aline.
Yes, I'm sorry that I'm asking very silly questions, but I just need some clarification. The workflow process, this thing you're showing us right now, do you generate this separately with Visio, or this automatically gets generated based on what you're doing in the training process? On the CAB meetings.
Okay, so
do you have to create this workflow
for each change?
Yes, this change flow diagram separately using Visio, or this automatically is generated once you do your change requests on the ServiceNow portal?
Yes.
Right,
So
great question. Great question.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay. So this workflow, this is out of the box. ServiceNow prepped this. This is already how the condition it comes out once you install ServiceNow in your system. It comes out like this, and this that drives the change process. So once you click a change, it starts from the begin and it keeps on driving, waits for condition and run scripts. These are all prepared by the developers in ServiceNow and shipped with the ITSM model. It's out of the box, so we don't do anything. But now, as I said, each organization has different peculiarities for them. So what they do is that they come here and modify it based on their organization's need. So like now, if you look at their own, they have different stages of approval. If I can read it, like, okay, let's say it starts from here, it's just to keep on tracing the arrows and see what happens. So the approval action is requested. So they have a change approval policy. So that's their first policy. And then it goes on ahead to check if it's on hold. And I know there are like about 2 approvals on this. So, but anyway, this is out of box. But my own situation, we just wanted manager approval and CAB approval. So we just needed 2 stages, but their own, they had technical and they had the first manager. Then I think they had technical, then manager, and then CAB. So, but this came out of box. So what we did was to modify it based on our own need. But whoever worked on the workflow initially did not made it that all the CAB body must approve the change before it goes on to the next stage. Where is the CAB approval? I'm not. If anybody can see CAB approval, please point it to me. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, you can control fine too. So, but here's the thing, Alan. A lot of times, right, it's based on the business lead, like Ettore said. Each company has a different process. You can use, like I said, flow charts. You can use You can use any of the canvas, right? You use canvas. You design your process. ServiceNow ships with already a preset or what we call baseline, which is there for the IT service area. Now you go in there and then take a look. Does it map or mirror what you currently are doing? If it's not, you rethink your process. You do that value mapping, right? To make sure that there's value in each space. There's no like your bottleneck caused by your process, because that's the whole essence of automation. Automation should make or simplify a process. So in some cases we can over engineer or we can over customize and do a lot of kind of good stuff. But if you have it set up, you can look at that baseline one or the default one and then modify it to suit your use case. So that's where you tailor it. When you do that, then you would now be able to now own it going forward, because what's going to happen is you're going to make a copy of the existing one and then modify the new one and then make yours the default one. So ServiceNow will be maintaining their old one and then you will be maintaining yours.
Your own new
because that way it goes there and then you leave the original one there, in the system. Now, also, what happens with it is sometimes the default might have approvals. It could be anyone can approve, it could be everybody must approve, it could be a percentage must approve. All of that is based on your unique situation. Each business will decide. But sometimes it depends. If you're stringent, it means all of this must happen. And imagine all of this, if everybody's not there, means that thing can stay there and just sit.
That's what happened to us.
Stay there and just sit.
So I don't know why I can't find the exact workflow now, because I'm not seeing CAB here. I've tried Control Find, I'm not seeing CAB. So I think I'm either looking at the wrong one or something. Change request. I don't know if maybe this, I was looking at standard change tags. No, it can't be.
After the first go, so after that, once it's turned on, you would see as you move. So for example, you can open one of them.
One of the workflow
So
here.
you can do this, right? Create or open any of those changes there. You see as you move along, it shows in blue the arrow. So let's say you open.
That was what I showed the first time. That was this one.
Right. So you can open a new one and then start the whole process. But if you take a look here, you should see like there's an approval action. That's one of approval. Remember, many a time, the first approval would be the change management approval. With change group would do that, or assignment group. Then the second one would be going to the CAB, where the change advisory board would do that. So all depends. So some companies might have, maybe they want technical assessment based on that approval policy. The first one is always that assessment one where your technical peers will look at it. Second one would be you would have your change folks will look at it, then the approval. So it all depends on what the business is trying to do or how they want to really control or be granular about the control. So a lot of things can be done there.
Yeah. I think I was just looking for this. I wanted to show them how to modify this. Is this particular thing? I don't know what's the name. Executing.
Right. For you to do that, you would need to go to. So now you go to that workflow editor.
Workflow editor, yes.
You check it out. So you open the one you want, then you check it out and modify.
And then modify it. Yes, but I'm not looking. I don't know the one. I think the problem is I don't know the
that normal change. That one, the normal change one. This should be normal change.
But this is from the change request. But if I come here now and look at normal change and open it, it's not the same.
Right, so click on the additional actions and then you check it out. Should be able to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, should
check it out. So when you check it out, you unpublish it. So now it allows you to make modifications. So you can go to any one of them and then
modify it as what you want. Yeah, the idea was I was looking for the CAB to show them how to just change those conditions, but
so I think that the CAB one might be part of the. Take a look at the change approval ones. So change approval policy. Click on that one.
Where is saying it? Okay, this.
In the middle.
Okay, no,
Yeah,
this for
just click on it.
technical.
Yeah, is that technical?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so
like
then
this one is
after that,
risk.
there's an approval action anywhere else. See the approval policy, the second one to the right there. There's another one there.
That's this
Yeah,
one
click on
now.
that one. Yeah, click on that one. Click on it. Okay, it should pop up. You take a look and see, is it CAB one? Because the first one is technical. Second one should be changed, I believe. The third one should be. Yeah, so if you go take a look, does it say the workbench, or does it say the approval group, or what?
There's already a last approval, blah blah blah.
Yeah, because some of them are based on policy decisions.
Yes, I think
It's
that's
like this one.
yeah.
But others might be based on
The workflow decision.
yeah. So like these ones are based on that approval policy. And then that way you can take a look and see. That's why I said you could have also, tried to maybe create a new one, and then you can like you
Modify
talk
it
about maybe
based on what you want
type
and
based on
then
the one
check
you
it
have
out.
and then modify it too. But it's the same thing. Maybe you want to make a change. You can make a change on any one of them. Maybe you're trying to update the value on any one of these. You could do that. Once you make that change, you now would have to now publish it again. You need to publish it.
Yes.
Whatever you do, especially in any workflow, you
You
must
have to
publish it. If
publish
you
it
don't
again,
publish,
yes.
if
It
you
will
don't
be
publish
stuck
it,
there.
then it's going to be stuck there. The OCs that will be tied down, bogged down. You need to make sure, like this one is checked out. If you make any change, just make sure you publish it. That way it returns back. Even for the fact, if some changes were in flight, or if some while you were at it, some issues were so some changes were in motion, they'll be stuck.
Yes.
So you have to also make sure that, whatever time it is, it's always off peak when you know that, okay, the things that are there are already there. So that way they don't start any of the processing while you're not there. Because all of that is automation.
Yes, exactly. And one more thing, I also wanted to talk about, I can stay the same one. But when you make these changes here, you also know that all the change that has already been, these are just some maybe tricks or trick points. Normally, when I did this also, I had to go and modify our CAB approval stage on this and make it that any approval would work, or just one approval is needed. So they need everybody to approve before it goes to the next stage. But also realize that when I did that, it didn't affect the changes that already were already, on one stage of the process. So let's say the change already was unauthorized already, and you now change the workflow to a new one. It will not affect those changes. So you have to basically start afresh with maybe new changes. So the person will have to make it like had this change freeze for some time and implemented the new ones. So no new changes would come on. We had to build, like when I talked about having the freeze on maintenance and stuff. So we had to put like some hours so that no change could be put in, and then created like a blackout period, basically, that no change could be created for those like an hour, then made this workflow modification. So all the new changes are now going to be running on the new workflow instead of getting stuck halfway and then it was still on the workflow. So those are just like some few discoveries I made working on it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Anthony, for sharing. We're grateful for the experience. I know we had that PowerPoint issue at the beginning, but other than that, everything went well. Alan, thank you for your questions, as well as everyone. Kayode,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank
But
you.
here's the thing that I always would say, right? Whether you like it or not, change is really all about modification, right, to your IT system. It could, like the name implies, you're actually replacing. You could be doing others, but what really matters is that you're only ensuring that beneficial changes get to be applied into your environment, because you don't want to lose face or lose business Like I said, it could be, like I said, you're replacing a switch, you're increasing storage space. There's so many things. A good example, like you said, for the different types of changes, we have standard, all of these are based on ITIL framework, ITIL guidance. So that's service management. We have ITIL, we have that standard one, which is a good one. You change password based on policies regularly. That's a standard change because changes must happen on the steady. You also have the normal change, which is one which you and I will be a member of, which it has a full life cycle of the change that it must go through. And then we have the emergency one that if it don't happen, you can go out of business. A good example is one that she talked about, right? It let us know that yes, imagine you have an approved approval policy that will go through for that emergency change, but now maybe while you're working on it, they have this peculiar situation where they now have a particular subset. So it's close enough. It's like a contingency, that they do have. Like in that case, all that you're needing to do for that is to make sure that your urgent change is nothing but you have an approved change. While you were going to it, you did not find the complete thing you need. So it means like a runway. Maybe you went there, you needed other items while you were doing it. Then now, for your change to be complete, those items must follow. So an urgent change will take care of that to implement that. That's it will any contingency. So now it will pick all of that and it will go through a smooth approval rather than following through and then going that. But emergency, it's out of business. Imagine a good one is something you use regularly. Say, for example, you're trying to, you have like a seizure or you see an accident. They have to, first of all, save life. Imagine you run out of your prescription. The pharmacy must give you medication. But they have 72 hours. So after the fact, that's when they go for approval. After the fact, I've given this person XYZ medication. They give you the prescription then. Which is what it is, right? That's the same thing for that the emergency change. Other companies also have there's unauthorized change, which they put a particular threshold. There's a lot of things based on their that are there to help. The schedules are just means your timers for how you will be processing your change. That's all. That's all the schedule is. So you could say like we have. For that change advisory board meetings. So now those change authorities. So here you have to now, go ahead process. You're saying it's Tuesdays. So every Tuesday for a particular duration, 90 days by default, you can make it even shorter. You can make it longer. It all depends, right? So because changes will happen, and then remember your delegate. So somebody that's in your stead. Since next in command or second in charge, you're not there, life happens. Others, but the thing is this, those delegates, they can see, they can attend those meetings, they can contribute. But for them to be able to run that meeting and approve, they must be part of the approval group. So they must be part of change management or the CAB approval group. They must be. If they are not, then they can only see it, participate, run the meetings, contribute, record, but they cannot do those approvals. And without the approvals, those changes are really lame duck. They're stuck. They won't go there. And then I think I thought it was trying to show you could go to the approval policy also, even without going to the change workflow itself. You could go to the approval policy and make the changes there too as well. You can decide. So for example, the one that talks about CAB one, if you open that one, you would see where it gives you the opportunity to say either everybody should or a percentage of the people within that. You can also configure that in this workflow as well, where you make the suggestion that it's 10%, it's 20%, it's or just one. A lot of times that's all you need, a single approval. Anyone can approve, anyone can reject. And there you go. So you're not starting to worry about, okay, first person, second person, third person kind of thing. But other than that, automation, there's a lot of automation to improve the process. So don't forget, go there, engage with it. On your PDI, you're the admin, you're doing a lot. go test out these applications. The more you know about it, the better you have your workplace. You'll be ready to go from day one for the most part. You'll be ready to go from day one for the most part. Couple of minutes, the video will be out. We would also be sharing Toddy's contacts, ET's contacts. So hey, network with her, connect with her on LinkedIn. Grow the network, continue to engage. Don't forget, we are still open for the ServiceNow, the build challenge. Go there, it's really easy. Just build your app, look at documents, what it is, the prompts, and then go ahead and share that, socialize it. That's really what it is, and then engage. For the most part. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Or if you have any questions, let us know before we go, because we're going.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good one.